Yunnan, China. Relentless rainfall has hammered the region, triggering landslides and sudden flash floods that ripped through mountain villages and valleys. What were once calm streams turned into raging rivers, sweeping mud, rocks, and debris straight into towns. The destruction is widespread. The land itself has been reshaped and vital infrastructure lies in ruins. Roads connecting remote communities to nearby cities have been torn apart. Pavement has washed away, hillsides have caved in, and long stretches of highway have disappeared beneath waves of thick mud. Bridges that once connected entire regions now lie twisted or completely destroyed, cutting off residents from the outside world. Rescue crews and heavy machinery are working around the clock to clear the wreckage, but restoring access remains an enormous challenge. In smaller villages, homes suffered the most. Cracked walls, collapsed roofs, and crumbling foundations show just how powerful the floods were. Entire families are now left picking through the remains, trying to salvage what's left of their lives. Families stood helpless as entire blocks crumbled under massive landslides, with homes and personal belongings swept away by the raging floods. Officials are now working around the clock to assess the full scale of destruction, while basic necessities, like clean water and sanitation, remain unstable in many affected areas. Vast stretches of farmland, the heart of local communities, have been wiped out. Once beautiful rice terraces carved into steep hillsides now lie buried under thick layers of mud and debris. Crops like corn, vegetables, and other everyday staples vanished beneath piles of gravel and sludge. For many farmers, it's more than just the loss of a harvest. It's the loss of fertile soil, the very foundation of their livelihood. The impact of this disaster will echo far beyond the floodwaters, affecting food prices, supply chains, and family incomes for months, if not years, to come. Tourism, one of Yunnan's biggest sources of income, has taken a serious hit. Once beautiful valleys, scenic hiking trails, and peaceful mountain resorts are now buried under mud or completely cut off by damaged roads. Hotels, lodges, and visitor centers have all reported flooding and destruction, leading to shutdowns and mass cancellations. For a region that usually welcomes travelers from around the world, this disaster isn't just about money, it's a cultural setback too. Now, the big question is how long it will take before Yunnan can open its doors to visitors again. Rivers and drainage systems couldn't handle the non-stop downpour. Waterways overflowed, embankments collapsed, and temporary barriers gave way as powerful waves rushed through towns and farmland. Engineers said that piles of debris worsened the flooding, while the swollen rivers tore through banks and even undermined building foundations. With the ground still soaked, officials warned that more landslides and flooding could happen again if heavy rain returns. The storm also knocked out key utilities and disrupted supply routes. Power lines went down, transformers blew, and several rural areas were left in total darkness. Emergency crews brought in generators to keep essential services running until roads could be cleared and power restored. Telecommunication lines went down, making it harder for emergency crews to coordinate rescue and repair efforts. At the same time, trucks loaded with food and fuel were stuck on blocked highways, leaving some remote towns short on basic supplies. Temporary footbridges are being set up where crossings collapsed, and makeshift barriers are being built along the rivers to hold back rising water. Local officials are also working on long-term recovery plans, restoring farmland, helping affected families, and strengthening key infrastructure to prevent future disasters. Assessment teams continue to reach cut-off mountain villages and valleys, uncovering more destruction with each new report: damaged homes, collapsed bridges, and flooded fields. It may take weeks before the full extent of the disaster is known, but one thing is already certain: the scale of devastation is immense. Rebuilding will take patience, funding, and a new vision for how this province can adapt to the force of its rivers and relentless rains. Thanks for tuning in to Severe Weather, where we break down the science and impact behind nature's most extreme events. If you found this report useful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next calm and clear weather update. Some visuals in this video are for illustration purposes and may not show the exact event. Stay alert, stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe. Yunnan, China. Days of relentless rain have unleashed chaos across the province, triggering powerful landslides and sudden flash floods that have ripped through mountain villages. What were once calm streams have turned into raging rivers, sweeping away mud, boulders, and debris straight into people's homes. The devastation is massive. Hillsides have been torn apart, roads have been destroyed, and entire sections of infrastructure lie in ruins. Rural highways that connected small towns to larger cities have been shredded by the unstoppable flow of water. Pavement has crumbled, slopes have caved in, and miles of roadway have completely disappeared beneath thick mud and debris. Bridges, once vital lifelines for isolated communities, have been twisted, broken, or washed away entirely, leaving residents stranded and desperate for help. Heavy construction equipment is now working around the clock to clear the destruction, but restoring these vital connections will take time and tremendous effort. In the hardest-hit areas, homes have suffered unimaginable damage. Walls have cracked open, roofs have caved in, and entire structures have been swallowed by the violent rush of water and soil. Families are left with nothing but the remains of what used to be their homes, as the province begins the long road to recovery. Families stood helpless as entire neighborhoods crumbled under massive landslides, their homes and belongings swept away by the raging floods. Local officials are now working around the clock to assess the full extent of the destruction, but even the most basic services, like clean water and sanitation, remain dangerously unstable in many areas. Vast stretches of farmland, the heart of local life and income, have been wiped out. Rice terraces that once lined the steep hillsides now sit buried beneath thick layers of silt, while cornfields and vegetable plots lie hidden under mud and stone. Farmers aren't just losing their crops, they're losing the very soil that sustained them. It's a devastating hit that could affect food prices and family incomes for months, even years to come. Tourism, another major source of livelihood in Yunnan, has also taken a heavy blow. Once beautiful valleys, scenic hiking routes, and mountain resorts now lie buried in mud or cut off entirely by collapsed roads. What was once a destination for travelers is now a disaster zone, struggling to find its way back to life. Visitor centers and local goose houses have been hit hard, with heavy flooding forcing many to shut down or cancel reservations. This region, usually alive with tourists every season, now faces not only physical damage but also a major economic setback. The road to recovery is uncertain, and no one knows how long it will take for life to return to normal. Across the area, rivers and drainage systems simply couldn't handle the non-stop rain. Waterways overflowed, embankments crumbled, and temporary barriers were washed away in powerful rushes of water. Engineers say piles of debris made things worse, blocking channels and pushing floodwaters even higher. The strong currents carved into riverbanks and foundations, tearing through anything in their path. With the ground still soaked, officials are warning that more landslides and flash floods could happen if another storm rolls in. The flooding also knocked out key utilities and disrupted supply routes. Power lines went down, transformers blew, and entire towns were left without electricity. Many communities are now depending on backup generators, while crews work around the clock to reopen roads and reconnect the grid. Telecommunication lines went down, making it harder for rescue crews and repair teams to stay in touch and organize their work. At the same time, trucks carrying food and fuel were stuck on blocked highways, leaving some small towns and mountain communities running low on supplies. In many areas, workers are setting up temporary walkways where bridges once stood and building quick barriers to keep rivers from overflowing again. Meanwhile, local officials are already looking ahead, figuring out how to restore farmland, help families who lost everything, and strengthen infrastructure to handle future storms. As rescue teams finally reach the most isolated valleys and highland villages, new assessments reveal the full extent of the destruction. Collapsed homes, washed out bridges, and fields buried under mud. It could take weeks before the complete picture is known, but one thing is certain: the damage is massive. Rebuilding will take not just money and manpower, but a new plan for how this region can better live with its powerful rivers and unpredictable weather. Thanks for watching Severe Weather, where we break down the real stories behind nature's most extreme events. If you found this report helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us keep going. Don't forget to tap the bell icon so you never miss one of our calm, clear updates. Some of the footage shown here is for illustration purposes and may not depict the exact event discussed. We'll see you in the next one. Stay informed and stay safe.